Welcome back to Channel 15 News. Tonight we have a special report for you. Here's Brian Blakely with more.
There was an attack on Paris yesterday. In total, 9 terrorists took part of planning and the attack. The group targeted Paris and St. Denis. The attack resulted in 130 deaths and 368 injuries. The attack involved mass shootings, suicide bombings, and hostage-taking. The attack lasted nearly 5 hours. The most notable attack was at Battle Clan Theater. 3 gunmen attacked a concert with 1,500 people in the crowd. They took 100 hostages and ended up killing 89 of them.
Thanks, Brian, for that report. Now, earlier today I sat down with an atheist on this point of view that he had about why God wasn't present during this time, or why, and he explains more on his opinion. Dr. Professor Leach, thank you for joining us tonight.
It's my pleasure.
So, first off, what's your first main overall point why you think that a God doesn't exist, especially during this event?
Well, do you know the concept of a triple O God?
Yes, I do believe it's omnipotent, omnibenevolent, and omniscient, right?
Yes, all-knowing, all-powerful, all-loving. You see, a God like this to most religions is an obvious case. Yet, a God like that can't really exist in our current present world. It can't exist with all-loving and all-knowing and all-powerful. It has to either exist with 2 of those aspects, 1 of those aspects, or a God like that just can't simply exist.
Now, why is that? Is there any further explanation you can give for our viewers?
Well, I would have to say that a God like that, if it were to exist, it would have to be all-powerful because it created this. So that's a fact. But if it was all-knowing, wouldn't it know all the situations and events that would occur already to happen? And if it loved us, why would it do this to us? Why would it make us do this?
So what you're saying is that since there is suffering and there is all this pain and all this bad action in the world, then a triple O God couldn't exist because one of those aspects of the triple O couldn't possibly be attributed to God for this to happen.
No. Because if it was an all-knowing and all-loving being, and if it wasn't all-powerful, it would just be a sort of myth, a mythological person in our past.
All right. So what do you think, so why is it that religions create this all-powerful being such as the triple O God?
Because they want something to have faith in when they know that a personal reason or a personal explanation just won't cut it.
All right. So earlier we talked about the history of kind of this triple O God. So why for thousands of years have religions of all different sorts believed in this triple O God, but just through this event have started changing the mind of people looking back through history about why this triple O God couldn't exist?
Because they wouldn't allow their idol to be looked at in that type of light. It's kind of like a child looking up to someone. Like everything they do is amazing. Everything who they are, what they do, it's great. But the second that someone comes in and tries to shove some negative aspect of them, they're like, no, we can't. That's not him. That's not her. That's not who I believe in. They wouldn't allow their affection and their faith to falter just because of that very aspect, or to that other person's opinion.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for the interview, Dr. Professor Isaiah Leach. It was great having you on the show.
It's nice to meet you.
Back to the desk. Thank you again, Dr. Professor Leach, for that great interview. Now we have the opposite point of view from a theist with Brian Blakely.
I'm here with Father Przecki to tell us a little bit more on why we think God would allow that evil thing to happen to innocent people. So what's your viewpoint?
Well, God lets these things happen because of free will. He promised in His covenant that He would allow us to, lack of a better term, do you. And so these situations are tough because we often ask God, why? But, when He created us, He created us in His image. And He created us with the ability to mess up. And when Adam and Eve made that first sin, when they took of the forbidden fruit from the tree of knowledge, that set into the motion of events that we would fail and we would keep failing. And people will do bad things. You will be bad to your neighbor. You will crash your car into something. And it seems bad that hundreds of people died and hundreds of people got hurt. But ultimately, God was there in that situation. The way Paris came together after those attacks, the way the world came together to support them after these attacks, God is there. God is there for the countless vigils that were held where people were prayed for. God was there.
Thank you for that insight from a theologian standpoint, Father Przecki. It's been nice talking to you. Thank you again, Father Przecki, for that insight. Now we're going to send it over to our field reporters, Matt and Bob.
Alright, so I'm Matt Lagassa here with Mr. Ora. And Mr. Ora, first off, do you believe in God?
I do believe in God.
More importantly...
All the time.
Good.
That's not a joke.
I know. Do you believe in a God that is omniscient, omnibenevolent, and omnipotent?
And by that you mean?
I mean, all-knowing, all-loving, and all-powerful.
Yes.
Okay, good. So, going along with that, do you know about the terrorist attacks in Paris?
Yes.
And how do you feel about that event?
Definitely don't like to hear about terrorist attacks. And you hope that they would stop. But they occur, unfortunately.
And why do you think a God that is all-knowing, all-loving, and all-powerful would allow something like that to happen?
Well, I still think, God does. He gives us free choice. So the acts of some people aren't simply because God says He wants that to happen, but God has a purpose for everything, and even though we might not understand it, there is a reason for it. And God's the only one that really needs to understand it.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Ora.
Thank you.
Hello, this is Bob Han, and this is Justin, and we're gonna ask some questions about our project. First, do you believe in God?
Yes, I do.
Okay. And do you believe that God is all good, all knowing, and all powerful?
Yes.
Okay. And do you know about the terrorist attack in Paris?
Yeah, I've heard about it.
Okay. It's a terrible terrorist attack.
Yeah.
And why do you think God would allow something so evil to occur?
I wouldn't say He necessarily allowed it. It's just it was man-made and it happened on its own. And since people made their own decisions, that things go the way they do in the world because that's just how things go. We make our own decisions and we make our own path.
Thank you very much.
No
Back
problem.
to that.
Thank you, Bob and Matt, for those great interviews. And that concludes tonight's special report from Channel 15 News.
And now over to Jetstream Jensen with the weather.